Hey guys, welcome to another huge episode of Triggered. As you can see, I'm not in the studio today. Far from it, actually. I've been on the road pretty much nonstop, but it's great to be with all of you guys and to catch up with what's going on in the world. I was going to start by saying I hope you all had a great Halloween, but we already have something way scarier, and it's happening. It's happening all over the place, and that's communism going mainstream in New York City and across the entirety of the Democrat Party. So today we're going to do a deep dive into all of that because I think we all have to hear about it. This stuff has never worked. It's failed everywhere it goes. All it brings is poverty, misery, depression, and yet this time they think it's going to work. But we'll get into that shortly. Guys, make sure you're liking, you're sharing, subscribing, so that you never miss one of these major episodes. Remember, if you do miss the show here on Rumble, you can head over to Apple, you can head over to Spotify podcasts, you can get it over there. If your friends get their podcasts that way, let them know so they can tag along. For all of the top news and headlines that we cover here on the show, go over, check out my news app, MXM News, where you can get the mainstream news without the mainstream bias. And of course, be sure to check out our sponsors, people who have the guts to support this program. And that's not easy. It's a big deal, and it matters. So check them out.
Guys, we're going to be talking about making America healthy again. Did you know that 45% of the coffee you drink could be loaded with mold toxins? And even after roasting, these toxins can still be there. That's where 1775 coffee comes in. 1775 coffee is brewed to perfection, crafted with precision, and built on patriotism. All the beans are ethically and exclusively single source. That means you're getting quality coffee without the harmful toxins that you might find in other big corporate coffee chains. So visit 1775coffee.com, use code TRIGGERED, just like the name of the show, get 15% off your order. That's 1775coffee.com, promo code TRIGGERED. And also, guys, don't forget about the Birch Gold Group, where you can diversify your savings and protect your future. The Trump administration is moving fast to right all of the left's wrongs. But with all the damage we've seen the Democrats do, it's always smart to be prepared. And that's why thousands of Americans are buying gold now from the Birch Gold Group. Here are the facts. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 30%. And Birch Gold makes it extremely easy to convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Or you can even buy some gold to store in your home safe. Just text my name, Don Jr., DONJR, to the number 989898, and Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, only useful information. It's about learning more and educating yourself. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of protecting your savings today. Again, text my name, Don Jr., DONJR, to the number 989898.
And now, guys, let's get into all of the top headlines that the mainstream media simply won't tell you the truth about. And we'll begin in New York City, the city I grew up in, the city I love, or at least loved. Now it's probably pretty different, where it is now clear, and perhaps more clear than ever, that we are in an all-out battle between common sense and communism. And I'm not even being hyperbolic here at this point. I mean, this is not, a rage cycle. This is just what's actually happening. The newly elected mayor, Zohran Mamdani, is making it crystal clear that he wants to impose government-run everything. Government's going to do this, they're going to do that, you're going to be dependent on them, they're going to give you whatever you need, and no one has to be productive, and, the usual stuff. They're going to impose government run everything into America's largest city. This isn't progressivism anymore, guys. It is so far beyond that, it's insane. Let's talk about what this guy actually wants to do. We'll go through the list. He actually wants to freeze the rent. I mean, that sounds great. I mean, I don't like when rents go up. I mean, I get it. Until you realize that every single time rent control has been tried, it destroyed the housing market and creates shortages. You have people gaming the system. Ask me how I know. Before I got to go on this last decade journey into politics, I used to build buildings there all the time. That's what we did. He wants free buses, which means working people will pay for them through higher taxes while the quality of service goes down. It all sounds good when you hear about it until you realize the unintended consequences. He wants to look the other way on crime. So they'll do what they usually do, right? They're going to tell you that crime went down because they're just not going to arrest people for doing criminal stuff. So again, he wants to look the other way on crime because apparently the real victims here, the real victims of crime are the criminals, not the hardworking New Yorkers getting mugged on their way to work, on the way to go get groceries, whatever it was. He wants government-run grocery stores. I'm sure that'll work out great. Because again, if history is any guide, those are actually called breadlines. So for those of you who didn't know this, my mom actually escaped communist Czechoslovakia. As a kid, she made me go over there to appreciate fully how awesome we had it in America. I've waited in those breadlines. I promise you, there's nothing glorious or glamorous or great about them. It's an abject disaster. And of course, he wants to globalize the intifada. I mean, those are actually his words, not mine. They're his words. To globalize the intifada and try to hinder ICE operations in the 5 boroughs. So while regular New Yorkers are struggling to pay their bills and to stay safe, this guy's priority is protecting people who shouldn't even be in the country and spewing off every cliche far left slogan day in and day out. But if you notice this in his speech on Tuesday night, the mask completely came off. All the happy talk, all the feel-good rhetoric turned into something that sounded more like a threat from a communist dictator. When he said, "We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve." What do you think he meant by that, guys? I mean, that seems like something right out of the Marx playbook. Think about that statement, guys. There's no problem the government can't solve. I mean, it's sort of like the opposite of like Reagan's slogan, right? Like the 7 worst words in the English language or whatever the number of words is, like, you know, I'm here from the government, I'm here to help, like whatever it is. Like, the government has not had a great history of solving a lot of problems for regular people. It's not what they do. That's not what our system is about. Again, what does history tell you? Watch Zoharan in his own words and see for yourself.
We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about.
And guys, his supporters are taking it even further. They're openly praising the USSR, the Soviet Union. Like, they're openly praising it. The regime that murdered millions, that built the gulags, that turned Eastern Europe into a literal prison. These people are standing in the streets of New York City, the beacon of capitalism and freedom, praising Stalin's legacy. Watch.
Done. What do you think it means that this guy ran as a socialist and anti-communism didn't work to stop him? That's big.
Yeah, I think we are in the heart of the imperial core. This is the country that defeated the USSR, unfortunately. And the reality of the matter is, there's a lot of antagonism. There's no class consciousness in the United States of America. It's one of the things that I try to address every day with my commentary. And I will say this. the conditions have deteriorated so much that everyday Americans, in spite of their lack of class consciousness, are finally arriving at the conclusion that perhaps there is an alternative out there. There is an alternative that focuses on them as opposed to the interests of the billionaires and the millionaires, as opposed to the interests of the capital owners. And I mean, you can't help but notice that. You can't help but feel at least a little bit of excitement around that.
And also the significance.
And the guy you saw in that video is the same guy being slammed for abusing his own dog during a live stream. And communists, they don't exactly have a great history with how they treat their pets. The same people claiming to be so threatened and opposed to the millionaires and the billionaires, the same people who rail against the 1%, have absolutely no problem cozying up to them the second they smell power or opportunity. It's the oldest trick in the socialist playbook, guys. Claim you're for the working class while you're dining with the elite. Case in point, Alex Soros. Yes, George Soros' son, the heir to billions, posted a photo with Mamdani congratulating him and saying he was so proud to be a New Yorker. Really? Alex Soros is suddenly the champion of the working class? The guy who's inherited more money than some country's GDP is now standing with the people against the elites? I'm not buying it. I don't think I've seen Alex Soros ever hang out with a regular person in his life. Give me a break, folks. This is what it's always been about. Rich socialists using idiots to gain power while they keep their penthouses and their private jets. Okay? And that's the same old playbook day in and day out. Story as old as modern time. And yesterday, my father spoke at the American Business Forum in Miami, Florida. Here's how he perfectly summed up all of this insanity. This is what real leadership actually sounds like, folks.
Our opponents are offering an economic nightmare. We're delivering an economic miracle. We have delivered in 9 months. This is the biggest investment of funds in a country in history by many times. That's good. They want higher spending for government and illegal aliens. We want bigger paychecks for American workers and American families, and that's what we're delivering. You see that. They stand for crime and chaos and corruption. We stand for law and order and justice. Also, strong borders. Boy, do we have strong borders. They put America last. We put America first. We put America first. And as long as I'm in the White House, the United States is not going communist in any way, shape, or form. We'll stop it. We're going to stop it. Stop this nonsense.
Now, just consider the stark juxtaposition here. You've got that message in Miami delivered in a room full of business leaders, entrepreneurs, job creators, risk takers, many of whom fled communist regimes in places like Cuba and Venezuela. People who have seen firsthand what socialism does to a country. They know the smell of tyranny. They've lived it. They've been through it, and they don't want it back. And then you've got Mamdani in New York, speaking to a bunch of champagne socialists, trust fund revolutionaries who have never worked a real job in their lives. They're talking about basically seizing the means of production while they sip their $15 lattes. These people think that breadlines are a theoretical concept from a history book somewhere, not something that actual human beings suffered through. Again, I've witnessed it with my own eyes. There's a reason, folks. There's a reason that none of those people that champion the new communism in America have actually ever lived under those systems. There's a reason that no one ever escaped Venezuela and then tried to bring it here. There's a reason for that, folks. No one escaped Eastern Europe under the USSR and said, you know what, we got to try that in America. Not a single person. Only the Bernie Sanders of the world, the academics, the AOCs, the Mamdanis, they're the ones that want to do it here. And here's the really telling part. The voter analysis of the mayor's race shows that his weakest support was among those actually born and raised in New York City. Huh, sounds familiar. It's like the rest of the Democrat Party, folks. If we can't get those people to vote for it, we're just going to make sure we take care of illegals, and then they'll vote for us, and we'll make them citizens, and they'll vote for us, and then they'll bring their friends, and they'll vote for them. You know, they'll drain the coffers, they'll burn in the healthcare system, the education systems that are already failing. We'll flood it with more people rather than actually take care of real New Yorkers. The real New Yorkers, they rejected him. His strongest support? You guessed it. People who've been in the city less than 5 years. The transplants, the temporary residents who treat New York like it's their personal social experiment before they move back to their parents' homes in the suburbs and start a real life. What does that tell you guys? It tells you that the voters who actually know the city, the people who are actually vested, who have skin in the game, who are raising their families there, who own businesses there, okay, they have a real stake in New York's success. They know how catastrophically bad his agenda really is. They understand it, and they know they're going to be there for the long term. They remember the bad old days of the 70s and 80s. They remember what Democrat incompetence did to this city before Giuliani saved it. And they're not buying what Mamdani is selling. I lived through those times in New York City. My father changed the skyline of New York City. When Wallman Rink couldn't get fixed by the government, he did it himself. And he did it in months, not the years that it lay there stagnant. It's probably why Florida realtors are getting absolutely flooded with phone calls about relocating.
It sounds like it is. Good afternoon, Sandra. Realtors in this exclusive area say there's a new sense of urgency for wealthy New York buyers. These are families, empty nesters, looking to buy a home like this and gain residency. So some New Yorkers are taking a closer look at Florida's no state income tax, especially as a potential tax hike looms. Raising taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers has been one of Mamdani's key campaign promises. Luxury real estate agent Johnny Del Preti says this is a main concern.
High net worth people, they're paying those taxes, so they really want to know what are they getting for what they're paying. There definitely has been more traffic, more flow through here in regards to showings.
And it's not just the realtors seeing the shift. Local officials say they're feeling it too. The mayor of Boca Raton says the Mamdani effect is real, and he's been fielding calls from worried New Yorkers. In June, the city launched a NewYorkToBoca.com, which has seen thousands of views, also igniting a billboard in Times Square.
We're getting people concerned about the potential of 17% tax rate just in city-state alone, potential of higher crime with comments about defunding police. Boca Raton is a stark contrast, the lowest property tax rate of any full-service city in Florida.
And Sandra, this home behind me is listed for $73 million. Although that price tag may seem high, realtors say this is on par for the competitive market down here.
And the real problem is New York City, the people who pay the vast majority of the taxes, the elite, they can actually just get up and move. They can leave. It's the hardworking people. And honestly, in New York City, if you're making $250,000 a year, you're still a hardworking family. I mean, that's how crazy it is. Those people are the ones that are stuck. The millionaires can move. They can go elsewhere, whether it's Florida or North Carolina or all of Georgia, the other places that people have been flooding from New York City. It's the hardworking people that don't have the ability to be that mobile and have to show up to the office because they need that job, not something else, and they can't work from their phones or remotely. They're the ones that are going to get screwed hardest. Reports also say that parents are desperately looking for new schools outside the city and in other states because they see exactly what's coming. They know. And the same goes, unfortunately, for police officers who actually qualify for a signing bonus if they sign up to work in Florida. Watch this one.
He's going to make the de Blasio years look like the golden age. And I can tell you in Florida, we're affected by this just with the law enforcement alone. If you're working at NYPD, do you want to go out there and risk your life knowing that the mayor hates you? No, a lot of them are not going to want to do that. And in Florida, we've established a $5,000 recruitment bonus. So if you are somebody that doesn't want to serve under that guy as mayor, you come to Florida, any state or local law enforcement agency, you get $5,000 right at the top.
Think about that, guys. People are just going to leave New York. You know, if you're a cop in New York and you actually do your job, you'll probably get in trouble for it. You'll lose your job, your pension, your mortgage, your family because of it. Why would anyone stay there? You know how many people I know in Palm Beach and the areas around that are New York City cops that moved down there? They're like, this is the greatest thing I ever did. Business owners are looking at Miami. They're looking at Texas. They're looking anywhere but New York. People are going to vote with their feet and with their wallets. And New York is about to experience an exodus that will make COVID migration look like nothing. You know, communism used to be the punchline of a joke in this country. We used to laugh about it. Seinfeld did an entire episode mocking it. Remember this one? Kramer as Santa and the means of production? We laughed at it because it was so absurd. It was so ridiculous. It was so far from the truth that could never happen here. But now it's turning into a dangerous reality. And that's happening in our largest cities. It's actually happening. And to be fair, I want to be clear about this. Voters didn't have a lot of great choices here, folks. Cuomo wasn't a strong candidate. He carried a ton of baggage from his family name and from the first terms and the scandals and the Me Too stuff and putting people in nursing homes. And he ran as a third party, which already split the vote. And of course, Republicans are far outnumbered in New York City to have a realistic shot at winning in the current environment. The registration disadvantage is hugely massive. So it's really more of an indictment of the entire Democrat Party and what they've become. They could run a moderate and win. They don't need to do these things, but they don't even have them. They don't exist in the party anymore. They don't get funded by Soros if you're a reasonable individual, if you don't take the extreme radical communist Marxist stance. This is what happens when you let communists, the actual communists, take over your entire movement. This is what happens when AOC becomes one of your thought leaders instead of your cautionary tale. The Democrat Party of JFK, who fought communism, would be horrified at what their party has become. Honestly, even Van Jones at CNN is saying Mamdani is completely missing the mark. And when you lost Van Jones, you've lost something. Check this out.
First of all, you got to give the guy the credit. He defeated Democratic Party royalty. The Cuomos, that's a royal family in our party, defeated them. Defeated the oligarchs and rich folks who jumped in to try to stop them, and then defeated Donald Trump. So the triumphalism that you see there is earned. A year ago, nobody ever heard of the guy. And the younger people who I'm hearing from feel a great deal of relief and pride, and they're fired up, and they feel like they've been silenced for too long. So that speech appealed to some. But I think he missed an opportunity. I think the Mamdani that we saw on the campaign trail, who was a lot more calm, who was a lot warmer, who was a lot more embracing, was not present in that speech. And I think that Mamdani is the one you need to hear from tonight. There are a lot of people trying to figure out, can I get on this train with him or not? Is he going to include me? Is he going to be more of a class warrior, even in office? I think he missed a chance tonight to open up and bring more people into the tent. I think his tone was sharp. I think he was using the microphone in a way that he was almost yelling. And that's not the Mamdani that we've seen on TikTok and the great interviews and stuff like that. So I felt like there's a little bit of a character switch here where the warm, open, embracing guy that's close to working people was not on stage tonight. And there was some other voice on stage. That said, he's very young. And he just pulled off something that's very, very difficult. And I wouldn't write him off, but I think he missed an opportunity to open himself up tonight. And I think that will probably cost him going forward.
And what about the NYPD, guys? What about the brave men and women who keep 8 million people safe every single day? Mamdani wants a complete handoff approach to crime. He wants it handled by social workers. Remember when this didn't work the last time? Remember defund the police? We're going to have social workers do it. How'd that work out? Remember the mayor of San Francisco came back and said, hey, maybe that wasn't a great idea when crime skyrocketed? I mean, he wants it handled by social workers. He doesn't even think crime is much of an issue, despite the fact that if you can't walk through Times Square without stepping over someone shooting up or witnessing a violent assault, it's probably a problem, guys. He sees the criminals as the victims, not the people getting pushed onto subway tracks. He won't even commit to putting more officers on the streets when they're already down thousands of cops from where we should be. Look, the day-to-day job as mayor isn't even as much about ideology as it is about getting things done. I know this city. I spent most of my life there. If you can't get something done there, they're going to walk all over you. Having a clown show in there with no real-world experience, I promise you, is not going to take you to the promised land. Being mayor is a job where you need to make sure the snowplows are running when they're supposed to, when it's winter. Not writing manifestos about climate justice while people are trapped in their homes. And that's not the way to get there. It's making sure the schools are open on time, that kids can get an education. It's making sure you're working with the governor to make sure that the subways are safe and also running on time. Not hosting seminars on why punctuality is white supremacy. Yes, apparently that's a thing, folks. It's not a job to just experiment with your crazy communist ideas while real people actually have to suffer the consequences of those things. Making life more affordable and safe for working people doesn't come from liberal academia or from pie-in-the-sky socialist fantasies that have failed everywhere they've been tried. It comes from actual work to incentivize business growth, slash the regulations that are strangling small businesses, and increase safety so people actually want to live and work on your city. And that's like common sense, folks, but it's not so common in the Democrat Party. You can't tax and regulate your way to prosperity. That doesn't work. It never has, and it never will. Anywhere, ever. That's the core of my father's historic election, a victory that happened a year ago. It was about having a real commitment to actually getting things done for the American people, not to virtue signal while the country burns down. It was about ending the failed status quo that enriches politicians while impoverishing citizens. Closing the border so American workers aren't competing with illegal, cheap labor. No tax on tips so bartenders and waitresses can keep what they earn. No tax on overtime so when you work hard, you actually get to keep the rewards. I know. It's shocking. I saw that one in communism too. Really smart, intelligent people didn't put in any effort because there was no incentive to do so. You got nothing more from working harder. You all got the same, whether you worked hard or not, so why bother working hard? Investing in America, in American workers, in American families, not some globalist fantasy. That's how we get ahead. Socialism promises everything, from free healthcare, free housing, free food, free everything, guys. Why not? Free everything. And delivers absolutely nothing except poverty and tyranny. And once you lose that success, once you lose those freedoms, folks, they don't come back easily. It's the biggest scam in human history. Every single time it's been tried, without exception, it turns into tyranny and human suffering on a mass scale. If you were watching the remarks yesterday at the business conference in Miami where my father spoke, you heard those stories firsthand from people who actually lived through it. These aren't theoretical discussions for them, guys. They have the scars. They have the battle wounds. They've been through it. Cuba under Castro seized private property. They destroyed human rights. They inflicted tremendous suffering on generations of Cubans. Families torn apart, dissidents thrown in prison, an entire island turned into a prison. And for what? So the Castro family could live like kings while everyone else starved? I mean, doesn't seem like a great plan. Just decades ago, Venezuela was the absolute richest nation in South America. They had everything: oil, natural resources, an educated population, a thriving middle class. But now, after just a few years of socialism, 90% of the country lives in abject poverty, crushing poverty, and inflation rates that's the highest in the world. No food, no business, no industry, no opportunity. That's the real legacy of socialism and communism. Like I always say, and this is important, folks, the migrant boats only go in one direction. Have you ever seen someone in a raft out of Miami trying to go to Cuba or Venezuela? No, it doesn't happen that way. No one's floating on rafts to Cuba, folks. Nobody's walking thousands of miles to Venezuela. There's a reason for that. And it's why the free enterprise system, capitalism, the American way of life and system is the only hope for lifting up a society and achieving true human greatness. It's the only way. Again, don't take my word for it. Listen to those who are actually suffering under it right now, fighting against it with their lives on the line. Okay? If a system is so great, you don't risk your life to fight against it. That doesn't happen. Here's Maria Corina Machado, great friend of the show, speaking yesterday at the American Business Forum.
So we talked about your first week when you come back. What about the next 5 years? What's your vision for the next 5 years of Venezuela?
Well, I will be with my family united and my loved ones in a free country. And I will tell you something, Venezuela will be the envy of the world. They would look and say, how did you do that? How did you turn a country in ruins into a beacon of hope, of prosperity, of security? I know many people feared that the destruction and devastation have been so huge in our institutions, in our infrastructure, in our resources, in our families, in our soul. But believe me, this has brought a country united as never before. We turned down the barriers the regime had built to divide us for racial or ideological or social issues. And the country is united around values, human dignity, justice, responsibility, solidarity, freedom, and love. And this, this urge, this need to bring our children back home. So Venezuela will turn into a country of prosperity that will be a living example of what citizens organize with their, will and genius to turn into a great nation that will also be a recipient of citizens that come all over the world because they want to invest, to create, to live their dreams in a land of grace.
Guys, let this be a warning to every single one of you watching. Do not get complacent. Do not think it can't happen here. I mean, Mandani's opening lines in his speech referenced like the guy that ran, failed luckily, many times as the leader of the Socialist Party in America. He's a socialist. It's not pretend, it's what he is. The election last November was awesome and historic. we crushed them. But that was just the beginning. We have midterms coming up. We have to stay on the offense and keep our foot on the gas pedal. We can't let the Democrats get away with shutting down the government over their radical agenda, stoking violence in the streets when they don't get their way. And we especially can't afford to be fighting amongst ourselves while they're plotting their comeback. Here's my father speaking to Fox's Brett Baer on the road ahead.
You know, I'm so torn because I would like to see the new mayor do well because I love New York. I really love New York. When I left New York for Washington, New York was doing really well, but there were some bad signs. The bad sign was a guy named de Blasio. So the signs of de Blasio, that was the beginning, and it was bad. This one, we're going to, look, for 1,000 years, communism has not worked. Communism or the concept of communism has not worked. I tend to doubt it's going to work this time.
Did you see his victory speech?
It's literally never worked. Yeah, I thought it was a very angry speech, certainly angry toward me, and I think he should be very nice to me. You know, I'm the one that sort of has to approve a lot of things coming to him, so he's off to a bad start.
I also want to take a moment here to talk about something that shows you what real leadership looks like, what actually caring about people looks like. Scott Adams, the Dilbert creator, a few days ago publicly opened up about an issue he was having navigating some healthcare bureaucracy and getting treatment scheduled in his battle with cancer. It was heartbreaking seeing what Scott's going through. It was heartbreaking to read. The guy's fighting for his life and dealing with insurance companies and medical bureaucracy. I had posted about it, trying to help, and it made its way to my father's desk and to RFK, and people saw it, and they immediately started working on getting him everything that he needed. Not for publicity, not for political points, but because that's what you do when someone needs help, and you have the ability to actually do that. He's dying. He wanted to get on something to try it. Remember, my father was the guy that got right to try legislation passed in his first term to get through the bureaucracy. I mean, people on their deathbed couldn't try drugs that could potentially save them because it hadn't gone through the rest of it. They didn't care. They wanted any shot at life. And Scott told the story this week about a couple of phone calls he received from your favorite president. I spoke to him as well. And this is really worth watching because this is who my father really is when the cameras aren't rolling. I know he doesn't love to show his empathetic side. He sometimes looks at that as weakness. I've told him a lot of times, I was like, man, you have that. If you listen to the stories from people who worked for him for years and decades, they tell these stories and he's just unwilling to actually show that side because he's like, how do I negotiate with Putin and these dictators around the world if they think I'm soft? But this is who he really is when the cameras aren't rolling.
The first sentence is, "This is your favorite president." And I thought to myself, no. Did I just send the most important person in the world to voicemail? And it turns out that I had. It was Trump, and he was just calling to check in. Now he left a semi-lengthy little voicemail, just saying he was checking on me, heard about my health situation, and then he says, you can call me back on this number. Now, obviously, I don't call him back, right? Because that would just be ridiculous. It just was a nice thing for him to say, because he called me. You could call me back on this number. So I didn't call him back on that number because I thought it's not like he's sitting at the Resolute desk waiting for my call. I thought that whatever it is he's doing has got to be more important, than randomly taking a call from me. So I don't call him back. Hours go by. It's the afternoon, same day. It's the afternoon. And all of a sudden another call comes through, also from Florida. And I thought to myself, no fucking way. There's no way he's calling me again. And I answer it, and it's Trump. And apparently he'd heard of my situation, and he had lots of questions. I won't get into the details of our conversation because that would be inappropriate. But he was just checking on me. And he had, he wanted to make sure that I was getting everything I needed. And that was it, But at the end, the strangest thing happened at the end. At the end of the call, when he found out, the situation was kind of dire, and I was still checking out some things that might help. He said, if you need anything, I'll make it happen. And he meant it.
That's really what this movement is all about, guys. For all the fighting and the division, even amongst ourselves, sometimes when we come together is when this movement is the most powerful. It's the most powerful force on earth when we do that. When we remember that we're fighting for each other, that we're fighting for our families, that we're fighting for our communities, for the American dream, that's when we're unstoppable. So stay vigilant, stay engaged, and remember what we're actually fighting for. It's a big deal. It's so important. Don't ever give it up. So guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember to like, to share, to subscribe. Check out our sponsors, right? Just liking, sharing, subscribing, send it to your friends. Like, that's a big deal. Check out our sponsors down below and in the video description. Support those who actually have the guts to support programming like this and to actually speak up. I mean, that takes balls. Support those guys. Send it to your friends. Download the Rumble app. You can watch us on your smart TVs. Do all of that, okay? You guys are the first line of defense. We have to break through the algorithms. We have to break through the mainstream media. We have a lot of hills we can overcome, but together we can do that. So guys, thanks so much, and I'll talk to you all again very soon. Have a great weekend.